Welcome to another edition of Ian Cameron's Football Frenzy. CFL Week 11 is here, and we have a ton of fascinating developments to talk about going into Week 11 of the CFL season, and most of them are quarterback related. Quarterbacks promoted, quarterbacks demoted, quarterbacks returning from injury, and a quarterback returning to the CFL for the first time in 2 years after some disappointing turn of events, I guess you could say, with his NFL prospects. All of that to get to here on this CFL Week 11 preview. We will begin, as we always do, with the team on the bye week, and that is the Toronto Argonauts this week that are on the bye week. They are coming off a big bounce-back win against the Calgary Stampeders last week at home after finding a way to lose the first of the two back-to-back games against Calgary on the road. The Argos did bounce back and win behind Nick Arbuckle, who got the start at quarterback for the Argos in that game. He wasn't great. The offense wasn't great, but he was solid. He did enough. He was 18 of 26, 181 passing yards. They got 89 rushing yards from Kadeem Carey. The defense was opportunistic. They got yet another punt return touchdown from Janarian Grant, who has clearly established himself as the best returner in the CFL this season. And, of course, they got a pick six thrown by Jake Mayer, Deshaun Amos returning it for a pick six off an interception by Jake Mayer. So they had a special teams touchdown and a defensive touchdown that made the 39 points they scored look better than offensively it would indicate. Because in the game, honestly, Calgary heavily outgained the Argos. Over 400 total yards, Calgary, but just too many miscues, lost fumble, Jake Mayer with an interception and the pick six. Calgary had 8 more first downs. They had over 400 yards. Toronto didn't even break the 300-yard mark. 299 they finished with total yards. So Calgary statistically looked like the better team, but when you make mistakes and you have turnovers and, of course, your quarterback throws a pick six, it's a problem, and it's usually a problem you can't overcome. To me, I still look at the Argos as a team that, their offense still, until they get Chad Kelly back, which, by the way, could be after their bye week because his suspension's over. He served his 9 games. It's just a question of, will he be cleared? Has he hit all the protocol requirements to be eligible to play and return and make his season debut following the bye week? That is the question. They play Saskatchewan next Thursday following their bye week, so we'll see. But again, Toronto is just a classic, average team, I think, right now in the CFL. 5-4. They're okay. They're not phenomenal, but they're not terrible. They're serviceable. The defense, has actually, I think, improved for the Argos as the season's gone on after a rough start and so many new faces and a new DC. There was some adjustment there. I think they've held their own. I think it's actually the offense that's kind of gotten worse while the defense has gotten better as the season's gone on. But here they are, 5-4, third in the East. Probably not going to be threatened by Hamilton behind them. Still a very good chance to be a playoff-bound football team. And again, the prospects of Chad Kelly returning possibly sooner rather than later for the Toronto Argonauts. All right, let's get into Week 11. We'll begin with the Thursday night matchup. The Ottawa Red Blacks taking on the Calgary Stampeders. It was a very good week for me last week, and really starting to heat up in the CFL. That goes for a lot of my colleagues that handicap and bet CFL, that really the last few weeks starting to get on a roll, find their footing, and it's been that way now for a few weeks. So solidly profitable on the season. We'll look to keep it going this week. Ottawa-Calgary gets things started for Week 11, Thursday night. Calgary 3.5-point home favorites, 49.5 the total. So early in the week, I jumped on Calgary, and Calgary opened as low as -1.5 in this game. They got bet up all the way to pretty much 3 through the 3 now, and it's actually 3.5 at pretty much most books. But it's very simple. Bet against Calgary on the road. And I did that last week, cashed a ticket with Toronto against Calgary. It was the best bet on the show last week, cashing that Argos money line against the Stampeders. It's really been as simple as, bet against Calgary on the road, bet on them at home. And that's essentially what I'm doing here. I mean, they're undefeated at home. They've played better football at McMahon Stadium all season long. That's on their side in this game. The fact they lost 33-6 to the Ottawa Red Blacks, July 26th in Ottawa. It's a revenge spot. I'm sure they haven't forgotten how bad they were that night and how much they'd like to make amends against this Ottawa team. And like I said, they've played their best football at home all year, 4-0 straight up at home. Meanwhile, here you have Ottawa with this great home record that's bolstered them to this 5-2-1 start, 4-0-1 at home, but just 1-2 on the road. They haven't played a road game, Ottawa, in quite some time. July 14th is the last time they played a road game, and it was at Edmonton. They won 37-34. They've only played 2 other road games. They lost both of them straight up in ATS to Winnipeg and Montreal early in the season. Of course, Drew Brown injured, and Jeremiah Masoli making his first CFL start in years, returning for the Ottawa Red Blacks. Anyone that says they know how Jeremiah Masoli is going to perform here, I think they're a bunch of big fat liars. Liar, liar, pants on fire is what I call them. I think it's very difficult to prognosticate what we're going to get from Jeremiah Masoli. The last time Jeremiah Masoli started was 2 years ago. It's been a while. He's had multiple injury setbacks. He's now also older, now 35, than he was a few years ago. You know, things have changed with the offense. There's new faces, new personnel, new coaching staff. I don't believe he has suited up at quarterback since Bob Dice has been the head coach here of this Ottawa Red Blacks team, or with this current offensive coordinator that they have either. So, you know, there's all kinds of question marks about how is he going to look? You know, how is he going to play? He's 2 years older. He's had now, I will say this about the OC situation, and this is a little something. Tommy Condell is the OC for Ottawa. He's the offensive coordinator, and he was actually the offensive coordinator in Hamilton years ago when Jeremiah Masoli was the quarterback there. So there could be a little more continuity, but you're still talking about, you know, not really having a ton of reps with any of the skill position talent or your receivers, other than Ackland. He does know Ackland well. They played together in Hamilton, but everybody else, he's got to get used to it. You know, we'll see how he fares. It's just a big fat question mark to me. It's a really, really big, gigantic unknown what we're going to see here from Jeremiah Masoli in his first start back. What I do know is that the Calgary defense certainly hasn't been great, but more so on the road. They've been better at home. And they beat Toronto at home. They beat BC at home. They beat Winnipeg at home. You know, and 3 of the 4 wins were against some decent competition here on this home field. So they have played well at home. I think they're the right side. I think they win this game. I will be honest, though, when it comes to where this number is now. 3.5, I would be a little leery. You know, maybe this is a field goal game. We'll have to wait and see. But another thing that's important, too, Calgary, they're going to have their starting offensive line. Both tackles are going to be healthy. Dante Demery and Joshua Coker are back. That's significant. Keep in mind, too, Calgary in that brutal spot where they got blown out by Ottawa. It was a horrible scheduling spot for them. It was traveling east on a short week, just a terrible situation for them. It's a much better one for them here. The way I would say right now with this game is 3.5. I don't know if I'd take Calgary now, but I don't want to take Ottawa. I know that. I don't want to take Ottawa in this spot. They have not been on the road very often this year. They're only 1-2 on the road. Calgary's undefeated at home. Jeremiah Masoli, I'm not ready to bet him until I see a start under his belt, see how he performs. So, like I said, I loved Calgary below the 3. I still think they win the game. They're undefeated at home. Revenge spot. Lots to like with Calgary here. But at 3.5, the only thing I don't like is the number where it is right now. Total, I have nothing on the total. 49.5. I do think, you know, with the fact that Calgary struggled defensively and, you know, Mayer and the Stamps have put up points at home. This could go over. I remember their last home game against, it's going to be close to the number, but I'd lean slightly to the over. Their last home game against Toronto got to 50 points, 27-23, 50 points exactly, which would go over this number. So slight lean over for me here. All right, Friday night football tonight. Montreal Alouettes, Saskatchewan Roughriders. Montreal 1-point road favorites, 51 the total in this game. You're going to see this number, and I know there's going to be people out there that are going to say, Montreal, defending Grey Cup champions, 8-1, I should say now, 8-1 straight up on the season, and you're only laying a point with them on the road. That's got to be a great bet. It could be because, look, Montreal, there's not much negative to say. Their defense is outstanding. They got ball hawks in the secondary. I think their front seven is getting better, both against the run and getting pressure on opposing quarterbacks. Their O-line's improving. And Davis Alexander taking over at quarterback for an injured Cody Fajardo has been more than good enough to get the job done for the Alouettes. However, you face Saskatchewan, kind of a tough week, tough scheduling spot for the Riders. Davis Alexander, when he replaced Caleb Evans in that game a few weeks ago, when Evans had a terrible first half, Davis Alexander comes in, rallies Montreal from a double-digit deficit all the way back to beat Saskatchewan 20-16, and then he played Hamilton 2 weeks in a row. So how much can you give him all the accolades in the world for lighting up a bottom feeder Ticat defense? So those are some of the questions you've got to ask yourself here. But he's playing solid. He is. And I love how he can throw on the run. Davis Alexander's got better mobility than you think. What does concern me for Montreal is, as good as they've been able to throw the ball, they've definitely been a more efficient passing attack this year. But a lot of that has been because of just how good their weapons have been. Well, they're suffering some key injuries and cluster injuries at the wide receiver position. They were already without Keon Julian Grant due to injury. They were already without Tyler Snead due to injury. And now Tyson Philpott. And he is the one guy that's going to be damn near close to irreplaceable. He has 58 receptions this year for the Alouettes, 779 receiving yards, 13.4 yards per reception, 5 touchdowns. He has 58 receptions, easily leading the team. Charleston Rambo is next at 31, 27 fewer receptions than Tyson Philpott. So you're talking about not just the production lost. He's been the go-to target for both Fajardo early in the season and, Davis Alexander as well. But you're going to need more from Nate Bahar with Philpott out. You're going to need more from Rambo's actually picked up the slack the last couple of weeks. He's been great. Cole Speaker going to have to do more. Reggie White Jr. is going to have to do more. Nate Bahar, Shedler Furvius, who got some more playing time at receiver last week after the injury to Philpott. I mean, that's going to be the question, right? Can these guys that are going to have to get more targets for the Alouettes, can they step up, make those plays for the quarterback in the passing game that, Tyson Philpott was, that Keon Julian Grant was, and those two are injured. Snead's been out for a while. They've gotten by okay without him, but Keon Julian Grant was a big loss, but this is the one that's really going to test them because he's been their number one receiver and most productive receiver by far. It's not even close, Tyson Philpott. And now you're without him this week. How will Montreal cope is going to end up being the big question here, in my opinion, in this game. Meanwhile, Saskatchewan, they're coming off that just insane game with Ottawa last week, 22-22 tie, following a disappointing 42-31 loss to Edmonton. 0-2-1 in their last 3 games, 1-3-1 in their last 5 games. But now they can welcome back Trevor Harris, finally returning from injury. That's significant. Jameer Thurman, who missed last week. Remember, I mentioned last week going into that game why I thought Ottawa could win that game, and of course it ended in a tie. They didn't, but the reasons I was concerned for Saskatchewan was the scheduling spot and the injuries mounting. Well, they are starting to get a bit healthier, and there is some good news. Like I said, Trevor Harris is back. A.J. Ouellette at running back is returning. Keyshawn Johnson is back at receiver. He was playing well. Jameer Thurman, probably their best linebacker, is returning this week from an elbow injury, which kept him out last week. So they're getting healthier. I don't believe Anthony Lanier is back yet, and they do miss him dearly, but they are still a much healthier team this week, Saskatchewan, than they were last week. They get the benefit of a full week of prep. Thursday to a Friday game, Thursday game last week to a Friday game this week. They let one slip away against Montreal a few weeks ago. They had that game in control. Caleb Evans they had him rattled. He was struggling against that Riders defense. Then Davis Alexander comes in and a totally different game after that. I like how it sets up. There's a lot of situationals here for Saskatchewan. They're back home. Trevor Harris is back. Crowd will be into it. They're getting healthier. Montreal's going on the road now, facing a Saskatchewan team that's going to want a little redemption following losing in Montreal a few weeks ago to the Alouettes. So I understand the early week money to Saskatchewan. I really do. It's just a question now, has it moved too far? this is one of those deals where, if you like Montreal, because look, they're 8-1, they keep finding ways to win. They're that good. They're that well-oiled of a machine. I totally understand it, but as much as they've been impressive and as much as they're by far the number one team in my CFL power ratings, very capable of winning back-to-back Grey Cups, they're not going to go 17-1 either. There's going to be some L's. There's going to be some losses on this Montreal schedule at some point, and I just like the way situationals point to Saskatchewan here. So I'm in agreement, actually, with the money for the Riders here at home. Boost with Trevor Harris back. Let's see Davis Alexander in a very loud environment against a better defense than the lowly Hamilton defense he's seen the last 2 weeks. Let's see. And plus, this is going to be a second look for Corey Mason, that defensive coaching staff, against Davis Alexander, because he caught him by surprise when he entered the game for an ineffective Caleb Evans in the game in Montreal, and he caught him by surprise. He torched them in the second half. They came back and won against Saskatchewan with Davis Alexander. Let's see this time. Now the defense has seen him. They've got some film, make their adjustments. But I know the counter, some people will say as well, Hamilton had a second chance to face Davis Alexander last week, and they fared no better against Davis Alexander with that second opportunity. Come on, though. Give me a break. You're going to compare Hamilton's defense to Saskatchewan's? Come on. It's ridiculous. You can't. I think Saskatchewan will have a better defensive performance, effort, game plan, the whole bit against Davis Alexander this time. I think they get the job done. Close game. Should be a great game. Can't wait to watch it. Davis Alexander and the Alouettes. Trevor Harris back at quarterback for Saskatchewan, but I think the Riders pull through, lean over the total as well. Saturday night, I'll be there for the slumping Ticats, and Bo Levi Mitchell era, at least for now, over, or at least for now, put on hold, as Taylor Powell will make his first start of the season for the Ticats. 2-point home underdogs against the Edmonton Elks, battle of the two worst teams in the CFL, both of them 2-7. 53 the total in this game. Now, Taylor Powell, considering he was entering the game off the bench against an excellent Montreal team in defense, I thought he played pretty well. Didn't turn the ball over. That's the best part. Made the throws, moved the team, ran with the football when he had to, did a lot of good things. The only concern was lack of red zone efficiency. They settled for way too many field goals in that game. That's what ended up hurting Hamilton's offense at the end of the day. But it was a good building block. And I'm on board with Camp make this change right now. I am. I've made up my mind. I was torn initially. The more I looked at Bo Levi Mitchell, I really did a deep dive on his season. And look, yards, points, passing yards, a lot of those offensive statistical categories, he's top 2, top 3 in the CFL. But how many of those yards and points came with the Ticats? Trailing, well out of the game, getting blown out, meaningless, hollow, garbage time numbers. There were some good games. The first Saskatchewan game, they deserved to win, and they blew it, and he played well enough to win. There's been a couple good and he lit up Edmonton, of course, this very Elks team a couple weeks ago. But again, an Edmonton defense that was pretty miserable at the time and, still not great overall. A lot of his production and number padding, though, was in games where he didn't play well, and he padded his numbers when they were down big. And then just too many interceptions. That's what Scott Milanovich saw in making this change. There's been way too many fucking haphazard, errant throws, bad decisions, interceptions, and it can't happen. I know Bo Mitchell and the overall numbers this year have him at 2,500 passing yards and 18 touchdowns. That's great. But you know what's not great? That in 9 games he has 10 interceptions. That's not great. That's terrible, actually. And that is not good enough decision-making. That is not good enough job protecting the football and making good reads. So that is something that they've been patient with Bo, and that's the thing. So to hear people say that, well, wait a minute now, this team here for Bo Levi Mitchell's got these great numbers. Look at all the throws he's making, the yards he's putting up, the touchdowns. There have been killer interceptions all season long that he has thrown. And unfortunately, they've really hurt. And in some cases, they've given the other team good field position. And put it this way, he, I believe, is leading the CFL right now of starting quarterbacks, Bo Levi Mitchell, as far as interceptions, and it's not close. I'm looking at it right now. He has 10 interceptions. He leads the league in interceptions. Like, he's thrown more interceptions than Jake fucking Mayer. That's when you know it's been bad. So this nonsense that, Bo Levi Mitchell, he's not deserving of maybe being replaced. Oh, the defense has been the biggest problem. But don't you dare sit there and say Bo Levi Mitchell's been awesome or really, really good. Or even, he's been really good at times, but he's also made way too many detrimental, back-breaking, drive-killing, in some cases game-killing interceptions and mistakes and decisions with the football. And it's hurt this team. So it's a bunch of nonsense that he has no culpability in Hamilton being 2-7. I am fine with them giving Taylor Powell a look. Bo Levi Mitchell's not your fucking future. This season is almost done as far as I'm concerned. You need to start thinking, what do you have in Taylor Powell? What's he got? Do you have a future quarterback in this guy? Does he have what it takes? The only way you're going to fucking get the answer to that is you play the guy and you give him opportunities to start games. And that's exactly what Hamilton is doing right now. So I'm okay with it. Bo's not your future. This guy might be. So, we'll see how it goes for Taylor Powell. Now, here's my one concern with Powell. He's had a lot of situations where the more teams know what to expect from him, the more defenses figure him out. Are we going to see Cam Dukes all over again here? Where Cam Dukes, first few games of the year, outstanding, and then there's more game tape, there's more film, there's more of an idea of his tendencies and his style at quarterback, and other defenses figure him out. And he struggled a lot, Cameron Dukes, the last few games, now that teams are more aware of what he does. Could that be a case of a Taylor Powell, too? It could be, but I don't mind the change. The bottom line is Taylor Powell, Bo Levi Mitchell, nothing's going to change unless the defense starts playing better. And for a couple games they did, and now they've taken a big step backward here, the last two losses against Montreal. 33 points allowed in both games. You keep allowing 30 points a game like Hamilton has done for the majority of their games this year, you're putting yourself in a brutal position to try to win. It's that simple. So that defense has to improve. Now for Edmonton, we talk about how Hamilton, their season's kind of getting away from them. They had those couple of wins, and then they got right smack down to reality when they played a good team, Montreal. They lost again 2 in a row since the 2 wins against Toronto and Edmonton. It's a revenge spot for Edmonton. Edmonton, the arrow is slowly starting to point up again. Back-to-back wins against quality competition. Saskatchewan on the road, BC at home, albeit BC with Dolegala at quarterback, but still a good home win for them against BC. But here's the big concern I have here with the Edmonton Elks in this game. I don't know if I can lay points on the road if McLeod Bethel-Thompson's the quarterback. And I know I won't be. But I'm reading that Trey Ford is expected to be at practice for Edmonton today, or was expected to be at practice for the Edmonton Elks today. And there is a very, very good, strong possibility that Trey Ford is going to be good to go and ready to be on the field and start Saturday against Hamilton, despite the rib injury that he suffered Sunday against BC. So it's looking probable, quite possible that Trey Ford will be back. And if he is back, then at that point, I probably would, as long as this is a field goal or less, definitely lean to Edmonton. I don't trust the Ticats. Now, the Ticats did beat Edmonton, and they did beat Edmonton good. But they also beat Edmonton at Commonwealth last year, and then Edmonton with Trey Ford at quarterback came into Hamilton and beat Hamilton at Tim Hortons Field. So I still think Edmonton is the side I would look at if Trey Ford starts. I would look at the over either way because I trust the offenses on these teams more than. Although I will say Edmonton's defense has been a little bit better the last couple of weeks, especially the BC game. But again, how much do you put into that? Dolegala is not a top-tier quarterback, not an elite quarterback in the CFL. So how much can you truly say that the defense is getting better for Edmonton when they face Jake Dolegala? So I still like over 53. If Trey Ford's in, I would probably look at Edmonton. If Trey Ford's out, I would pass on the side. I still wouldn't probably take Hamilton, even if it's MBT. But if it is Trey Ford, I think Edmonton becomes the side to go with here in this game. All right, Sunday night. This is the game we're all excited about because of the developments of the last 24 to 48 hours. Winnipeg and BC, The BC Lions, they were at one point early in the week. BC was a 3.5-point home underdog. They are now a 1.5-point home favorite. All the money's poured in on BC this week. 48.5 the total. That's been bet up a little bit as well. And the reason is simple. We are talking about the return of Nathan Rourke, a man having a MVP caliber, MOP caliber season in the CFL with BC a couple of years ago before he decided to test out the waters of the NFL. And unfortunately for Nathan Rourke, his NFL prospects have taken a hit. He went to the Jaguars. They released him. He went to the Giants. They didn't give him a fair shot. He went to Atlanta briefly. He gets into the tail end of the fourth quarter with a terrible O-line around him. And I know he struggled in that game again, in the preseason game he played for the Falcons, but they cut him loose. And I think at this point, Nathan Rourke is realizing what I've been saying on Twitter X for a while. He's got to start getting reps. He's got to start playing. You're missing out on the prime years of your life and your career as a football player. You've got to start playing games. And if it is in the CFL with the BC Lions, go for it. And I think he finally realized, I got to get on the field and start playing. If I'm really going to further my chances down the road and explore an NFL opportunity again. So he's back here. He said if he returns to the CFL, it would probably only be for the BC Lions. He was a man of his word. They've signed him a very lucrative contract, by the way, 6 figures, north of $500,000. So he's getting paid like an elite starting quarterback in the CFL. Rick Campbell's already said that this signing of Nathan Rourke means nothing as far as Vernon Adams is concerned and his status with the team, at least this year. He is still going to be a part of the team, one of the leaders of the team. They haven't, and Rick Campbell was adamant saying, we're not going to just hand Nathan Rourke the starting quarterback job when Vernon Adams gets back from he's got it for now because Vernon Adams is injured. But when Vernon Adams comes back, he's going to have the opportunity to compete for that job and at least share the reps, split the reps with Nathan Rourke. And to be quite honest with you, I think that's exactly what's going to happen. I think, we're going to see both of these quarterbacks being used by Rick Campbell, the head coach, Jordan Maximic, the offensive coordinator. We're going to see this BC team use both of their quarterbacks, Nathan Rourke and Vernon Adams, when VA is back and healthy again. So I think that's the plan. Now, you can talk all you want about how this quarterback situation is going to unfold after this year, but clearly VA is going to be there for the rest of the season. But if you're going to tell me that, let's say Nathan Rourke catches on and he decides, you know what, I'm going to stay in the CFL with BC after this year, maybe not explore the NFL again and stay with BC beyond this year, I don't know if VA would sign up for that. Another year after this year of being a 1A, 1B tandem partnership quarterback situation here with Nathan. I really don't. I think he would explore trying to be a bona fide, surefire QB1 somewhere else. But again, that's for November, December, January, the offseason to figure out. Right now, what we know is Nathan Rourke is the guy until VA gets back, and then we'll see what happens after that. But the bottom line is, you understand. Like I saw one game, I should say, of Jake Dolegala putting up just 16 points against one of the worst defenses in the CFL, Edmonton, and already there's the call to Nathan Rourke, the bat signal. Get Nathan Rourke on the line. Get him on the line. Nathan Rourke, get him on the line right now. That's definitely what I think BC was thinking after after that performance by Dolegala. And look, Dolegala wasn't terrible in the game. But again, you see just how much more limited the offense is. He's an erratic passer. He's not always on point. He's got a great arm, but it's not always an accurate arm. He can throw deep. He just can't throw it accurately all the time deep. And we saw that in the game against Edmonton. That ended up being a big problem. It's just Nathan Rourke just gives you so much more, the mobility, the explosiveness to run, scramble, throw on the run, which Dolegala can't do. And we saw just how special a talent he was in the CFL and how he was just ripping it up against opposing CFL defenses the last time we saw Nathan Rourke here in the CFL. And you better believe he's starting. Like, he's at practice today, first day with the team today, first practice. He's getting all the first team reps. He's the guy. He'll be starting Sunday. And I know there's people thinking, well, he just got there today and 5 days and he's going to have to start. Well, He's better than Dolegala. You put him in there right away. And by the way, he knows the offense. It was Maximic when he was the Maximic was the OC when Rourke was there a few years ago. So it should be a hand in glove fit. He knows the playbook. He knows the scheme. It should be a very slight learning curve for Nathan Rourke getting back in the field. Maybe it does take him a game to get that chemistry and camaraderie and that timing back with his receivers again. But definitely, I think it's the right call to put him in right away. So let's talk about this game specifically. That's all the Rourke stuff. BC is probably chomping at the bit to get a piece of Winnipeg. Winnipeg embarrassed them. Winnipeg schooled them a couple weeks ago. That was horrifying for BC to not only lose to Winnipeg 25-0, but get blanked, shut out, not get a point. It's very difficult in the CFL to get shut out, to not even get one stinking point on the scoreboard in a game. And yet that happened to BC. And of course, that was the game where Vernon Adams got banged up and injured, and Dolegala had to take over in that game. But even with VA before he got injured in that first meeting with Winnipeg and BC, he was struggling. I mean, that offense just wasn't moving the football at all against Winnipeg. And let's give Winnipeg credit. They've gotten off the mat, and they are still very much alive in what is now becoming a more and more tightly compressed West Division because of everything that's going on around them. Winnipeg's starting to win. Edmonton's starting to win. Saskatchewan and BC have suffered some losses and some struggles recently, and all of it has tightened up the West Division race significantly here in the last few weeks. So opportunity knocks here for Winnipeg. They're 3-6. BC has fallen now to 5-4 with the 3 straight losses they've suffered. I mean, this is a big game for Winnipeg. It certainly is, and it's not going to be a cakewalk for BC. But I think BC is going to be absolutely fired up, excited beyond belief to be able to get Nathan Rourke back. I think you're going to feel the excitement and the energy and the crowd at BC Place Stadium on Sunday night. You're going to feel it with the team, and I do think they get a big boost from that, at least for 1 week. Yes, Winnipeg's off a bye week, but I'm telling you what, the teams off the bye week have not been clicking on all cylinders. It's not been that surefire bet on angle that it's been in the past with these bye weeks. Look at the BC Winnipeg game 2 weeks ago. It was BC on the bye week. They played awful, especially on offense. So and look, Winnipeg going into their bye week, they were starting to play some really good football. And then they get the bye week. Does momentum get disrupted? Now, they do get Kenny Lawler back. That is huge for their offense. They've been without Kenny Lawler and Dalton Schoen for most of the season. And there's no doubt that they've been hurt by that, both of those guys being out. But getting Kenny Lawler back is huge. But sometimes when you bring a receiver back, a key one, sometimes that chemistry, it just throws things off just a little bit for that first game. I mean, I remember 2 weeks ago, BC Winnipeg, they brought Keon Hatcher back from injury. We thought, oh my gosh, this offense and this receiving core is even more dynamic, explosive, and even more tough to stop, more loaded now with him back. And they didn't play like it, BC, in that game. Kind of threw things off. So, the way I see it here with this return of Kenny Lawler, it's huge, but does it, believe it or not, you would think we'd never in a million years not want Kenny Lawler back at receiver, but does it throw off a little rhythm with receivers that have been getting more of the targets and more of the reps lately with Zach Collaros? That remains to be seen. I look, the bottom line is when Nathan Rourke was announced as being coming back to the CFL, signing with BC, the line at that time was Winnipeg -3.5. And if Nathan Rourke's back, and we figured it, with him being back, and they announced right away he was going to be at practice Wednesday and get the full week of practice, which told me right away he's probably going to start on Sunday. I'm like, if we all know that he's back, he said practice on Wednesday, he's probably going to start on Sunday. There's no fucking way Winnipeg can be a 3.5-point road favorite in that situation. None. Zero. That cannot be. That's totally absurd, especially when you look at just a couple of weeks ago in Winnipeg. Winnipeg or BC was a 4.5. They closed a 5.5-point road favorite in Winnipeg. Are you telling me that BC was a 5-point road favorite in Winnipeg and they're a 3.5-point home underdog here at home against Winnipeg this time? So you talk about huge value in the point spread to BC, and even bigger value once we figured out that Nathan Rourke's back and he's probably going to start in this game. So that explains why the money's come in on BC. Had to adjust to the Nathan Rourke news. There's no friggin' way BC should be a home underdog against Winnipeg with Nathan Rourke back in the fold and in a revenge spot. And Winnipeg may be a little overvalued now after their little, resurgence the last couple of games. So I agree with the move to BC. Pounced on it right away when it was. I didn't even get 3.5. I got 3. I didn't get 3. I missed the hook, but I got +3. And I still think at 1.5 with BC. I think BC could be favored by even more. They could be upwards of 3.5 in this game, maybe even 4 with Nathan Rourke. I still think you can bet BC because I expect them to win this game -120. Credit to Winnipeg for shutting them out 2 weeks ago, but now let's see you go do it in BC. It's going to be much more difficult. I like the over too because look, I know Winnipeg's 8-1 to the under this year. They've been an under machine, and I've never once wanted to really make a sizable position on an over in a Winnipeg game before this week. But Zach Collaros and the Bombers offense is starting to show signs of life. They put up 25 against BC before their bye week. They moved the football against Toronto, and even though they only scored 14, they had 1 million turnovers. The yardage was there. Zach had 317 through the air. Brady Oliveira had almost 100 rushing yards. They had over 400 yards against Winnipeg. Winnipeg had over 400 yards against Toronto 2 weeks ago in that 16-14 overtime loss. 3 weeks ago, I should say. Over 400 yards of offense, you should score more than 14 points. And they absolutely would have scored more than 14 points if they didn't have all those turnovers and all those mistakes. So you look at the yardage they put up against Toronto, even though it didn't equate in points scored, the offense did play better. And obviously that carried over into the game before their bye week at home against BC. So the Winnipeg offense is getting better. Zach Collaros is starting to look a little better after a bad start. Now they get Kenny Lawler back. I think Winnipeg can move the ball. BC's defense has been progressively not nearly as good, a little bit worse the last few games. And then on the flip side, I know Winnipeg's defense has been outstanding. I will not deny that at all. They've been phenomenal, Winnipeg's defense, the last few weeks. It's why they've been in so many games, been able to be in games and have a chance to win games. But now you got to deal with Nathan Rourke. You got to deal with, obviously, a BC team that is now, I think, finally going to be able to find some footing on offense again at home, where they always, historically, in the last few years, BC always puts up more points at home. It's just been the way for them over the years. And keep in mind, this is the first home game for BC since July 13th. They've had to play 3 road games in a row. They lost all 3 at Calgary, at Winnipeg, at Edmonton. But look at the home games. They scored 35 against Saskatchewan, last home game, 26 against Calgary, 24 against Edmonton. You're going to be good, I think, for 28 to 31 to 35 points for BC at home, in my opinion. And if you can get 21, out of Winnipeg, there's your over pretty much in this game. So I agree with the move up in the total, currently sitting at 48.5. All right, there you go. That is week 11 in the CFL. Hope you enjoyed the breakdown, the analysis right here on Ian Cameron's Football Frenzy. As far as the college football and NFL division, college football conference and NFL division season previews videos, we're going to keep those going. We'll be posting some more of those on Thursday and Friday. Looking forward to that. Philip Nelson's going to join me for another couple. I believe we've got some other guests on the radar, possibly to join me for a few of those preview videos. And if not, I'll just fly solo. And then, of course, a reminder, once we get to the start of the college and NFL season, and once we get fully into September and NFL gets going, there's going to be a CFL Football Frenzy show, an NFL Football Frenzy show, and a College Football Frenzy show each and every week. So 3 Ian Cameron's Football Frenzy shows will come at you every week starting in September. 1 for CFL, 1 for NFL, 1 for college football. Looking forward to it. We'll have more guests joining me for those as well. Looking forward to this football season. Put in the work. I'm ready for great betting results. I'm ready to make this season of Ian Cameron's Football Frenzy the best season of this show in its history. And can't wait. As CFL still got half the season left. Can't wait for NFL and college football. We've done the work. Make sure you join me for those shows. And just quickly, again, 6 months, all sports discount, $400 down to $250 US. All sports now through February. This offer valid for only 10 more days until August 24th, the first day of the college football season. So now is the time to get on board. $250 US, 6 months, all sports discount, $150 off the regular price. After August 24th, it goes back to the $400 regular price. So now's the time to sign up for it. 6 months all sports discount, entire NFL and college football season, now through February of 2025 at Dub Club. 22.2 units of profit, NFL and college football combined last season, and looking for more good results here in 2024. The other Dub Club options, regular price $75, 1 month all sports, $200, 3 months all sports, $750 1 year all sports. And again, with Dub Club, all of those subscriptions, you get the high volume card, every wager, every day in every sport. If you're looking for something a little bit more reasonable, something as far as you don't have to pay as much, and you want a selective approach, a lower volume approach, you can get the top plays and best bets only subscription for me at SoBet, $9.95 per month. Best bets, top plays only in all sports, $9.95 per month at SoBet. And last but not least, I have partnered with bitwallet.bet, a crypto and cryptocurrency sportsbook and casino. Bet smart, bet anonymously. Click on the referral link in the comments section below this video, and you'll also see it on the screen right here, bitwallet.bet/affiliate/Ian. Click that link, and when you do, you can sign up, and if you sign up with a brand new account at BitWallet, you will get a 50% deposit bonus on each of your first 3 crypto deposits. Bitcoin, Ethereum, doesn't matter what cryptocurrency you use, you will get a 50% deposit bonus with each of your first 3 crypto deposits at bitwallet.bet. One of the only crypto sportsbook and casino options available anywhere. And again, you'll get all the main sports betting options, North American and international sports, football, basketball, hockey, baseball, international sports, UFC, live betting, same game parlay live betting, which is a really cool live betting feature at BitWallet, live casino dealers as well for the casino games at BitWallet. So make sure you click that affiliate link, bitwallet.bet/affiliate/Ian. Sign up using that link, and you will get 50% deposit bonus off each of your first 3 crypto deposits. That is at bitwallet.bet. Make sure you get on board and sign up, and a great time to take advantage of this with football season right around the corner. All right, it is time now for best bets here for week 11, in the CFL. Week 11 best bet. We cashed with the Argos last week in their victory against the Stampeders with the best bet. Best bet for me here for week 11. Oh, man, it's one of these two sides that it's moved a little bit, both of these games. I'm going to go BC. BC, money line, minus 120 is the best price out there right now with BC Lions money line against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. I like the over in that game as well, but I like BC. I still think, they could be laying, then probably should be laying a full field goal at home now that Nathan Rourke is back and starting in this game. I don't think there's an adjustment. I think, look, am I expecting him to just absolutely rip up Winnipeg's defense in his first start back in a couple of years? No, but he knows this offense. He knows Jordan McSimick's playbook. He's going to be a huge boost from Jake Dolegala. It's going to be a huge boost for the team that needs a pick-me-up after 3 straight losses, some home cooking. They've always played their best football at BC Place Stadium. Now they're back home where they're 3-0 straight up on the season. BC. And by the way, Winnipeg 0-4 straight up on the road this season. So while Winnipeg's played a little bit better, they have still failed to show me if they can get the job done on the road away from home. They have not. They're 0-4 on the road this year, Winnipeg. BC 3-0 at home. Give me the BC Lions money line here. BC minus 120 against Winnipeg with the returning Nathan Rourke at quarterback. That is going to be my best bet for week 11 here in the CFL on Ian Cameron's Football Frenzy. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. Hit the like button on the way out here for those of you watching on YouTube. We appreciate it very much. I'm Ian Cameron. Enjoy CFL Week 11. Enjoy all the games coming up this week in the CFL, and good luck. And we will be back again next week for another edition of Ian Cameron's Football Frenzy.